Listen, can you believe what we're watching here? Can you really believe what we're witnessing? Our military troops have been hit since October of 2023. This is August of 2024. According to this report I'm about to show y'all on Fox News, our military bases, some of our military men and women have been injured or some have lost their lives, but the very minimum attacked 174 times. Now, I've had family members who have served, and relatives who've served in the armed forces. As if they were still serving right now, I would be highly, highly upset with this sorry, fraudulent, irresponsible, and yet successful. You say, why you say successful? I'll tell y'all in a moment why I say they've been successful. But I would be very upset with this so-called administration. Where's Joe Biden? He hardly ever has even addressed this situation. And then since Kamala Harris, or Kamala Harris, has been installed or selected to be his replacement for the 2025 ticket, he has basically been M.I.A. Reminds me of 2020 when he ran for office, how he disappeared and yet won from the basement. Y'all, this is horrendous. Americans need to wake up. Americans really need to wake up. Check this out.
9:30 here in New York now. Here we were watching the Middle East. We've been keeping a very close eye on this throughout the week, waiting for the next move. Here is the region right now and the growing fears of a wider war. What does Iran do? What do they order Hezbollah to do in Lebanon? And what happens with the ongoing war in Gaza? It is a three-front operation here, a fourth front if you throw in Yemen and the Houthis down here at the end of the Red Sea. All right, so here is what has transpired over the past 7-8 days on behalf of the Israelis. They've taken out a Hamas leader in Tehran. They have taken out a Hezbollah commander in Beirut, and just earlier today, another top Hamas operative in Gaza as that war continues. So then, as Iran continues to talk about payback for this and that in Beirut, here's what we're up against. U.S. forces in the region over the past 10 months, this is not good. All right, these are all the strikes going back to October of last year, eastern Syria, all throughout Iraq. And I would especially point out, if I could here, you call up that, the Assad Air Base has been hit twice now. We responded once, but we haven't responded a second time for the attacks earlier in the week on behalf of our U.S. soldiers that are stationed there. This is what the U.S. military has done. Talk about firepower. It is around the entire region. All right, Persian Gulf with the Roosevelt Carrier Group, keeping an eye on Iran. You've got the action in the Red Sea. Again, this is the U.S. Navy. They've been there for months, keeping an eye on the Houthis there in Yemen, and their launching of missiles into Israel, or trying for some time. Not to be left out, the Eastern Mediterranean, the Roosevelt and the Amphibious Ready Group. So you've got the area covered. Question is, what happens? And where's the commander-in-chief? President Biden heads back later to Delaware today, and Aisha Hasni pressed the White House on exactly that question, his whereabouts this week.
Has the president spoken yet to any of the U.S. service members who were injured this week overseas by Iranian proxies?
Don't have any conversations to speak of.
I ask that because you're saying that the president is very busy every single day, but can you give the American people maybe an expectation of how much or how little we expect to see the president?
As it relates to the president's schedule, public schedule, because I think that's what you're really asking me about, what his public schedule will look like. You'll see him tomorrow. There will be more opportunities. We have 5 months left here. There'll be plenty of opportunities.
So he did do a sit-down with CBS. Pete Hegseth reacts to all this now, a veteran yourself. Pete, good morning.
Now, this is sorry. Matter of fact, sorry is not even the word. This is ridiculous. This is embarrassing for the nation. It's completely disrespectful to our military, those who serve in the military, our soldiers, and their families. This is horrendous, everybody. Again, I don't promote fear porn. I'm all about awareness and about right solutions. This is sad, y'all. We are witnessing the destruction of America right before our very eyes. We have an absentee leader, a press secretary who don't know what she's doing since she's been in office, and she She's just a total embarrassment. She's really a waste of time. I think if I was a part of the press corps, I would be completely disrespected by her stupid answers. Yes, stupid answers. She's not helpful. She's a distraction. She's a waste of public airtime. And she has, I don't want to hear about the color of her skin and she being a woman and this other mess she goes off of. None of that helps service the needs of the American people. They're serving their own interests. And let me quickly address what I said I would. The reason I say this administration has been successful is because they have been following their own playbook. Joe Biden told us as much a couple of years ago, and people didn't listen, and the media didn't report on it much.
You know, we are at an inflection point, I believe, in the world economy. Not just the world economy, in the world. It occurs every 3 or 4 generations. As one of the top military people said to me in a secure meeting the other day, 60 million people died between 1900 and 1946. And since then, we established a liberal world order, and that hadn't happened in a long while. A lot of people dying, but nowhere near the chaos. And now is a time when things are shifting. There's going to be a new world order out there, and we've got to lead it. And we've got to unite the rest of the free world in doing it. So anyway.
We're watching the deterioration of the American government, the destruction of the Constitution, just an all-out assault on the ideals of what used to make America great with all of its flaws. And believe me, I believe there are plenty of flaws you can go down a long list of. However, it's still the most viable nation in the country. Matter of fact, sorry about that. I got cut off. I had set a timer on my phone to go off at a certain point in time, and I forgot I said it. Otherwise, I would have turned it off. But anyway, those fools who say if Trump becomes president again, that they was going to leave the country, they sound like the same fools who said that back in 2016 or 2020. I forget which. I think it was 2020, because you had Johnny Depp coming out talking about the White House blowing up. You had Madonna coming out talking about how she wouldn't mind. Madonna said something about blowing up the White House, and Johnny Depp talked about an assassination on the president. How convenient. How interesting is that, huh? Anyway, pray for this country. Prepare, embrace, because things are happening. But I also believe good things are happening as well.
I'll give you my favorite President Trump story. This is my #1 favorite of all time. When we were negotiating with the Taliban, while President Trump was still the president, President Trump wanted to get out of Afghanistan, but he wanted a conditions-based withdrawal, meaning that you do what we tell you to do, and then we will start pulling troops back slowly as long as you abide by our rules. It's President Trump and Mike Pompeo, and they are talking to Taliban leadership in the room, and they had one translator in the room. President Trump looked at the Taliban leader and said this: I want to leave Afghanistan, but it's going to be a conditions-based withdrawal. And translator translated. And he said, if you harm a hair on a single American, I'm going to. And the translator goes, and Trump goes, tell him.
Yes.
Tell him what I said. Tell him what I said. Reached in his pocket, pulled out a satellite photo of the leader of the Taliban's home and handed it to him.
Shut up.
Got up and walked out the room.
Sure did.
Do you know for 18 months not a single American was killed in Afghanistan?
Sure did.
That's the definition of strength. That's what I'm talking about. And so you could imagine that kind of sentiment being around the world. If we have an embassy in another country, no one's going to touch it, because they're going to be fearful that they'll get a Moab on their head. That's how President Trump rolls.